Getting injured as an athlete isn't just about healing your body. It's also about healing your mind. Because when you can't compete, it feels like something's been taken away. Today, we'll talk about the emotional ups and downs of being injured and how mental skills can speed recovery and how athletes and parents can use this tough season of being injured as a chance to grow stronger in more ways than one. Welcome to Confident Common Clutch Car Ride Conversations. I'm your host, Valerie Alston, here to help parents and young athletes spark meaningful dialogue about mental toughness, resilience, and confidence. Whether you're headed to practice, a game, or just running errands around town, this podcast is your go-to for building stronger relationships and lifelong skills, one car ride at a time. So let's dive in. All right. So you may be asking, why are we talking about injury this week? Well, because I am injured. I injured myself. So this past Tuesday, I was playing first base for my recreational slow pitch team, jumped up to try to catch a ball, came down on the base funny, and my ankle went, right? It turned a direction it was not supposed to. And so since I am dealing with injury right now, I'm very selfishly using my podcast to talk about the process of dealing with injury, to work through my own stuff, but also recognizing this is something that most athletes are going to have to deal with at some point. I certainly hope that you don't get any kind of serious injury as you pursue your sport, but it's likely, right? At some point, especially if you're playing for years. I know for myself in my sports journey, I've battled multiple injuries throughout time, whether it's a couple broken bones here or there, twisted ankle, playing volleyball, came down on somebody's ankle as I was jumping and blocking. College, right before college, actually, I had some tendonitis, some messed up stuff in my wrist that kept me from finishing my senior year of summer ball. I decided to just rest to get ready for college. In my junior year of college, I got hit by a pitch and cracked a rib and had to finish out the season with a cracked rib. Again, I'm not saying you're gonna get hurt, but at some point, if you pursue sports long enough, there's gonna be an injury in there somewhere. It's just likely. Now, hopefully those injuries are not serious, but there is the potential for injury to be big enough that it keeps you out of sport for a while, or potentially even career ending, that you don't get to keep playing that sport anymore. And so it's important to just recognize that mental tools and mental toughness and resilience is going to help you manage that process because we can all agree that injuries suck. Right? They suck for so many reasons. One, just the pain or the discomfort, whatever it is, but everything surrounding the injury. So going to doctors, getting diagnoses, figuring out the treatment, actually doing the treatment. And then once it's mostly healed, then there's typically some sort of, depending on the kind of injury you have. Me right now, my ankle is, I'm in a boot and can't do much with it. But I know at some point I'm going to have to do some rehab, right? Some physical therapy or something along those lines. Injury is its own mental task, right? It drains you. It can be daunting, right? In addition to trying to get back to your sport. Now, thankfully for me, where I'm at in my sports career is it's not that big a deal that I can't play softball right now. Like it's recreational, it's adult league, co-ed adult league. Like nothing matters about this league other than hanging out with friends. So I'm not clamoring to try to get back to my glory days or anything like that. But there were certainly times in my life where I was trying to get back, especially in my younger years where I was still actively competing. And so it's important to understand that the injury process it follows very much like the process of grief. And if you can understand that, if you can anticipate some of the experiences that you'll have, it helps you just be better equipped to deal with them. So if you're not familiar with the an injury when you're losing something, whether that's a loss of a routine, maybe a loss of a role on your team, maybe a little bit of independence. I know that's my case right now. I've injured my right foot, which is the foot I drive with, that people drive with, and I'm not able to drive right now. And so I've lost the independence of being able to you just go do what I want to do. In some cases, if you've got a career-ending injury, you can lose a sense of identity of who you are. And loss is loss, and that's going to come with it a grief process. And so you may or may not be familiar with the 5 stages of grief, but this usually starts with denial. In case of injury, this might look like, oh, it's not that bad. I'll play through it. But typically, when it's a bad enough injury, you know you can't, right? The reality kind of slaps you in the face. It either hurts too much or it's just you're not functional. And so after denial, after you've realized, okay, this isn't something I can play through, usually there's a bit of anger, frustration. Why me? Why'd this happen? I can't believe this happened. Arrgh. And it is. There's a bit of an anger phase because it does suck, right? It's not fair, right? That you got injured. Unfortunately, life's not fair, and that's not how it works. So, usually at some point after anger, you move towards bargaining, which is making deals with real people or fictitious entities that if I just rehab hard enough, then and I'll be able to make it back in 2 weeks. Or if I'm just really good with this and I do put my head down and I just do the thing, I'll get back. And sometimes that's probably a healthy process, but what happens when those deals you make, the timelines don't fit the reality of your injury, right? It can wear on you. And so oftentimes, as some part of the grief process, there's also depression. And depression could be, it doesn't have to be like proper depression and like diagnosable depression, but usually there is depressed mood, right? You're sad, you're feeling left out, maybe lose motivation because you're not able to keep playing, you're not able to keep doing the task, right? And usually, once you move through that sadness, you gain some sort of acceptance, which is, hey, this is where I'm at right now, and now I just got to focus on healing. And so, understanding that's a very normal process, regardless of how big or little your injury is. There's probably some element of that grief process that you're going through, and it's not good or bad. It just is. And so, just normalizing that for yourself, recognizing that when you're experiencing it, it's okay. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to bargain. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay, right? Because you're dealing with something. You're human. It doesn't mean you're weak. It's a natural process of losing something, right? And so we want to just make sure that the more you can understand that process, it's a little easier to accept, right? That this is okay. This is something that many people go through. I'm not unique in that I'm feeling these things. Okay. So that acceptance there is really, really important. And another piece that you're going to want to be able to do during the injury process is really practice your mindfulness. Mindfulness being like being able to stay in the present moment, noticing what's happening without judgment. And injury, there's constant reminders of what you can't do, right? For me right now, I can actually feel my ankle throbbing right now, and I'm in the boot. And as we speak, as I'm recording this, I'm going out. It's Oktoberfest shenanigans happening, and I'm going out with some friends later, but I can't drive. So my friends are gonna come pick me up. We're gonna have that come get me. We'll go. I'll stay as long as I can. But obviously, blah. I'm digressing. Long story short, there's constant reminders of either the pain or the discomfort or the lack of independence. And so when you're going through the injury process and the healing journey, it's important to be able to be mindful with where you are right here, right now, and to keep your focus on what is most important in this moment. Because often when you're injured, you can dwell on thoughts of woe is me, which pulls you out of your ability to enjoy the moment or just be where you are. And sometimes you can get lost in the what ifs in the future. And what if this and what if that? What if I don't heal properly? Or what's this going to be like? How long is it going to take me to heal? Again, those aren't necessarily ineffective thoughts in various moments, but typically they're going to steal you away from being able to focus on the moment that you're in. And so practicing a couple different types of mindfulness tools might be helpful for you. So something as simple as practicing your deep breathing. This can be really powerful, especially when you're dealing with pain. And if I weren't recording this session right now, I could breathe through the throbbing in my ankle, breathe through that and recognize like, okay, it's there. I have pain. I don't need to dwell on it. I don't need to let it overcome me. Sure, it's uncomfortable, but being able to breathe helps you separate a little bit from that pain, and it helps you reduce those stress hormones, which they turn off the fight or flight response, which helps your immune system kick back on and helps support the healing. So the more you can do some sessions of deep breathing, the better, and keeping your focus on the breath as much as you can. Another option, a very popular mindfulness practice, is just a body scan. And a body scan is just you're turning your focus inward and you're just sensing through your body, what am I feeling and where am I feeling it? How am I feeling it? Noticing the sensations. So again, if I were doing that right now, I might be noticing the way my hip is a little bit sore because I've had to sit in weird positions and walk in weird positions for the last few days. I might notice that Again, my toes are little fat sausages right now. But you can feel that it's not pain, but like you can just feel when you have swelling, that like your skin is kind of stretched. I can feel that right now. That's kind of an interesting feeling. So the idea here is that through the body scan, you're just trying to gain awareness of what your body is telling you. What is your pain response telling you? What's happening in your body? And that without fighting it, learning to accept it and just be like, okay, this is what I'm going through right now. Because with that acceptance and non-judgmental, just noticing, often you're separating from that experience and you're just observing it. And often it can release the power of those sensations, right? It lessens them a little bit. There's a natural kind of decompression there. Now, another option is something that's really important that you could practice, especially when dealing with an injury, is just to use some form of journaling to really process what you're going through, whether that's your emotions, your thoughts, your just experience of dealing with the injury itself. Write it out, get it out of your head. Don't let it fester inside of you. There's a couple reasons why journaling works. One, it helps you gain awareness of what you're actually experiencing, helps you make sense of sometimes the chaos in your mind and your body. Putting it on paper helps you be a little bit more objective and gain distance. But the other thing that you can do with that journaling is whatever it is you're experiencing, also taking an opportunity to purposely and intentionally build positive emotion. When we experience positive emotion, it has an undoing effect on our physiology. And often injury creates a lot of stress, worry, which turns on that fight or flight response. And that stress and worry impairs our ability to heal. And so we want to make sure that we're doing our best, setting our bodies conditions, right, to be able to heal as possible, as good as you can. So being grateful, and intentionally cultivating that gratitude so that you are balancing some of the natural negative emotions of being injured with some positive. And so an example of that might be I'm absolutely grateful for my friend who's coming to pick me up and who's been taking me around. I've had several friends, my coworkers, texting me like, "Hey, do you need anything? Can I bring anything from the office for you?" And so it's really just really awesome as a single person who lives alone, right, to see that I do have friends, that there's people around me that care enough to come help me. And that's what makes me grateful right now. Your thing might be completely different, and that's fine, but something that intentionally creates gratitude for you is a pretty helpful strategy. Another thing that's going to help you in this rehab process or just dealing with an injury is making sure that you're maintaining an effective outlook and being as optimistic as you can. And I want to be clear here that a lot of people mistake optimism for positivity, and those are not the same. I don't want blind positivity. Like acknowledge if you can't acknowledge that being injured sucks, your process is going to be a lot slower because you can't own up to the reality of your situation. So realistic optimism is really important. But what helps you stay realistic but also hopeful is by really focusing on your self-talk, right? Making sure that you're focusing on what you can control. So your rehab exercises, your sleep, your nutrition, getting mental reps of your sport, maybe so you don't diminish your skills, staying engaged with your team in whatever way you can, managing your thought process. Instead of if you catch your mind going to places like, oh, I'm just never going to get back, it's going to take forever, thinking something instead of, no, I'm making progress, baby steps, something along those lines. Or instead of, this isn't fair, I can't believe I got hurt. That might be true, but it doesn't really help to dwell on it. And so shifting your mindset to, okay, I can't control the fact that I was injured, but I can control how I responded, how I approach each day. Okay. So really managing your thought process is vital through the injury recovery process. Another thing that's going to be helpful for you is just to recognize at some point, especially if you're at the beginning of the journey, like I am at the moment, you have to acknowledge that there are going likely to be setbacks. Recovery, physical recovery, mental recovery is rarely a straight line. It doesn't always happen with a normal progress. Often you take two steps forward and one step back. And so the really important thing to remember here is that those setbacks can be very frustrating and it can feel like you're back at ground zero. But the more you can reframe that setback is, hey, this is a process. This isn't an end state. Even if I am taking two steps forward and one step back, I'm still making progress. Okay. And so, as best you can, acknowledging when setbacks happen, allowing yourself to feel whatever you're feeling because it's okay, and thinking about what next, right? How do I keep my mindset in a place that's going to be effective for me? Focusing on what I can control and being hopeful. Okay. The last thing I'll say is when you're dealing with an injury, a lot of people can sometimes isolate themselves. They feel like they don't want to be a burden on their family or their teammates, and so they just kind of close in. Well, especially as a youth athlete, you need your friends. You need that camaraderie. You need to be out there with your team. And so reminding yourself that you are not doing this alone is that you have people there to support you in this process for like basic logistical things like driving you around and getting you to appointments, all that kind of stuff, but also just for your mental and emotional needs, right? If you just need somebody to hug, I'm frustrated today, I need a hug. That's okay. And so thinking about that as the parents, coaches, trainers, teammates, as you're listening to this, if you have a friend who's injured, who's dealing with injury, I encourage you to offer encouragement. Be there for them. Don't try to fix their feelings. Allow them to feel what they're feeling, but just sit with them. Be with them as they experience their anger, their frustration, their depression, and offer encouragement, reminding them, what can you control? Let's, you know, let me just be with you. Also, coaches, trainers, teammates, try to keep your injured athletes involved in team activities. Allow them to be present as much as they can. If there's something that they can participate in, let them. Even if it's something as simple as I know for me it's irrelevant because I'm not actually on a competitive team right now, but I remember very vividly when I twisted my ankle in high school, I would stand on a box at the net and like I would help with some of the blocking drills or hitting drills, right? Because I could stand there and not have to move, right? And my arms still worked. Things like that. So just trying to keep your athlete who is injured as involved as they can. Again, it just helps them remain part of the team and not getting isolated. Okay. The other thing you can do as parents, coaches, teammates, provide that accountability for rehab and the mindset is if you do have your athlete at practice, try to think about, okay, hey, your job at practice today is do all your rehab exercises. So while we're doing hitting drills or while we're doing fielding practice, I want you right here in the dugout be doing your rehab stuff, whatever you have, assuming there's things that they can do without machinery and all that. But provide accountability, check in on them. How's it going? Don't leave them hanging like they are no longer important to the team. So as much as you can encourage those athletes to stay involved, the better. And remembering, please, as the adults, teammates, encourage them to speak about how they're feeling and encouraging them to ask for help if they need it. Okay. I know that's tough for me personally, just because I'm used to being very independent. And so to have to ask my friends to drive me around, take me to the grocery store, all that, it's not easy, but I know I need it. I know I need the help. And my friends are pretty awesome. So it's been good so far. But I'm also a grown adult who teaches resilience and all this and have a better self-awareness than probably most teenagers. So help your kiddos if they are dealing with injury, or if you are a coach who's got some teammates, some players that are dealing with injury, try to keep them involved, acknowledge that you're a safe place that they can talk about their emotions with, and then if they need support, really just encouraging them to reach out, right? And being there for them when they reach out. All right, y'all. So let's dive into some conversation. What are some things that you can discuss amongst yourselves? Just a quick reminder that there are no wrong answers. Take turns talking and listening. Try to minimize your distractions as best you can. And remember that you can pause and discuss after each individual question, or just listen to all the questions and answer whatever's relevant for you. Now, I recognize that probably everybody listening to this isn't necessarily injured right now, like I am. Okay, but even if you're not injured, which I hope, but you can think about this like proactively between your parents and your kids. Hey, if you do get an injury at some point, what do we want to be aware of? Okay, so take it as you will. So let's dive into our first question. If you are currently injured, how are you really feeling right now about being injured? Is it frustrated, sad, hopeful, anything else? What are you actually feeling? And be honest about it. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with whatever you're feeling. Maybe if you've been injured in the past, what was that for you? What did you feel? If you're not currently injured right now, fantastic. But what do you imagine you might experience? Again, forewarned is forearmed. If you can anticipate what that experience might be like, if you actually do face it, it really just helps you prepare to handle it well. Okay. Question number two, what's one thing that you can control during recovery that might help you feel more confident and more hopeful about recovering? Okay. So again, obviously, if you're actively injured, what's that thing? If you're not actively injured, what do you anticipate would be the one thing that you want to really put your focus on, paying attention to and managing? Okay. Taking control over. All right, as the adults or teammates in your corner, is what support would you want from them? So if you are injured, how can they best support you right now? Whether that's through encouragement, reminders, or just listening. Or again, if you're not injured, what do you anticipate would be helpful for you? You know yourself, right? What do you think would help? What do you think you might need from your parents to help you get through that? Okay. Or from your coaches and from your teammates. And finally, if you have a setback in recovery, how would you want your family, your support network to help you? What kind of support would you want? How do you want them to respond to you? Because I know sometimes it can be really frustrating when somebody says, "It's okay, well, we'll just, keep going." Can you just let me be pissed off right now? I just want to be pissed off that I had a setback in my recovery. That's okay. And so acknowledging, what do you think you might need? And I know sometimes it's hard if you've never been injured before. It can be tough to know what your needs might be, but you can at least anticipate and have that conversation now. And then when it does happen, y'all can be on the same page, be like, yeah, okay, that thing I thought I would need, I don't need that. I want something else. That's okay. It's all right. But anticipating it, thinking through it can help you in the future. All right, y'all. Remember to keep that conversation rolling and let's make those car rides count. Thank you again for joining me on this car ride conversation. If you found this episode helpful or if a player, athlete in your life that is dealing with injury, send them this episode. Hopefully it helps. Hopefully it helps them recognize that people get injured. They're not alone. There's other people dealing with it too, to include the person recording the podcast. All right. If you are looking for more weekly tips and mindset shifts and conversations that help you and your athletes stay confident, calm, and clutch, please consider joining my newsletter at www.confidentcalmclutch.com/newsletter. And if you have any suggestions for new topics or something that you're interested in learning about, again, you can message me. There is a link in the show notes that you can just message me directly, or you can always DM me at V Alston Coaching on Facebook or Instagram. All right, y'all. I look forward to hearing from you, continuing these conversations as we go forward, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day.